Good evening and welcome back to another session of Smell the Beans. Today we are going to talk about sports. What does it teach us? And why are we talking about it? Because yesterday I completed my half marathon, the first half marathon of 2022. In fact, I have never been a runner. I took to running as part of my schedule in terms of when COVID struck, and after that, when all the group classes had shut down and some classes went online and some did not. So I was just thinking what to do, and then I incidentally met these group of very enthusiastic runners. Obviously, they are my friends and neighbors. And slowly, I got it became a habit to run with them. And even after the first wave came down, and we went back to our physical classes, somehow it became a way of my life. Otherwise, by and large, I have never been a sports person in my life, other than random training as a kid, or maybe sometimes when I was long back when I was in my class 11, I kind of had joined the badminton academy because that was the most widely played game. And I did train for badminton for a few months, and I played for a few years. And now again, I'm like last so many years I've not played. Now I can't even hit a shuttle right. Okay, so coming back to the half marathon. So I was registered for the Bengaluru marathon, which was scheduled to be done on the 9th of January, and incidentally that did not happen because of this COVID wave, Omicron wave. So the entire event went virtual, and I completed my event yesterday morning. And that gave me the idea that I want to talk about sports and what does it teach us, or what does it teach you, what are the pros and are there any cons, is what I thought. So like I said, as a kid I've never been very actively into sports because I think in my family there are no active sportsmen per se other than playing gully cricket. And I come from a very academically oriented family. So the first priority was education, and the second priority was music because we are from Kolkata, which I didn't learn incidentally. But so in the pecking order, sports was quite low, and I never took on to it very seriously. But once I got into active running for long distances, there are some things that I understood in terms of, that when you take up an activity for training yourself as a sport, what does it teach you, or what does it teach us? And this has been my contemplation in the last 1+ years that I have been running very seriously, and so much so that in August 2011 I took to training myself so that I can be a better and more agile and run with more energy rather than running for just slogging it out. And therefore, when I kind of when I kind of look back upon my my efforts that I put into it, what did I learn, and what does a sport, I thought, really teach us? I think the first thing, it teaches us a sense of discipline. There are very many examples, but I'm sure all of you will agree that being in any form of sport teaches one discipline. Second, teamwork. Whether it's a team sport or even in an individual sport, there are so many people or so many stakeholders one has to liaise with and train with. I think it definitely teaches teamwork. 3, time management. Time management can be said to be a part of discipline, but I would like to keep it separate because time management is not only honoring your own time or how you utilize your time, but also about how valuable you think your commitment to others are, and you value that, right? Fourth is anger or emotions management. I think there is so much of highs and lows when you are playing any form of sport, whether it is physical, mental, even if it is a game of chess, that it is imperative for a person or a sportsman to be trained to control one's mind and one's emotions. The impact of the highs and the lows should stay there while you're playing the game. And if you were to bring it out of your field or your arena of sports, then we have seen there have been very many examples where we have seen that it has impacted the sportsman in some way or the other. So I think anger management, emotions management is so important, and that is why I think all form of sports training is linked with some form of meditation or psychological training as well. And I think the fifth and the most important, any kind of sports activity reinforces our spirit of survival. The survival, the animal instinct, the survival instinct, because the winner takes it all. And that's the bottom line in any sport. So these 5 things I thought I realized and understood, and I value more as I started training myself in in my running sessions. I would love to hear from all my viewers, that what do you think? Is there anything that I missed, or is it that anything you want to add? Now, one is obviously, what does it teach us? What are the merits? The second point is, when one becomes a good sportsman or a great sportsman or an active sportsman, wants to take up sport as a career, what does it take for he or she to remain there, to remain in the position? If one is successful, what does it take for one to be there? And when I thought about this, two things which came to my mind. Apart from all the discipline of doing your physical training, rigor, all that is aside, that is known, but two things that I felt was very important. One was gratitude. Be always grateful for the opportunities life has put in front of you and how you have utilized them. Thank yourself as well, not only others. Obviously, others are important, your mentors, your parents, your coaches, people who have motivated you and taken you along the journey. If you have a huge fan following, your fans, your supporters, all of it is important. But thank yourself as well, that you took the decision to pursue this at probably a professional level or a national level or a state level, whichever level, but you took the decision and you made yourself proud. Thank yourself and thank your surrounding. That is one. So gratitude. Second, grace. And grace is again linked to a lot of emotion management, stability, how one conducts oneself. So I thought these two attributes are important to remain where you are. At the same time, when a sportsman becomes popular or famous, what does it take to come down from the position? Or it need not be. I'm not talking about celebrity sportsmen. I'm generally saying that if you're popular in your school or your college or your locality or the clubs that you play for, one is, what does it take for you to stay there? The other is, what does it take for you to fall from where you are? And especially for budding sportsmen or youngsters who are aspiring to be great sportsmen, I think again it comes back to the lack of ability to manage one's emotions. So it goes back to the point that how you do your anger and emotions management. I think that is very important. You know what? Like we often say that a few are born with talent. And talent is something that you're born with, but skill is something that you can enhance, you can hone, you can shape, you can nurture, and therefore the ability to become skillful depends on your attitude. And a sportsman is somebody who should have a great attitude. It teaches you the right attitude. So yeah, so that was my take on this. Now I believe that when I analyzed all of this, and in the last so many years that I've seen my daughter grow up, I feel that sports should be an integral part of any curriculum. Obviously, it's a part of school curriculum, and we are lucky that our kids go to good schools and they have a holistic way of training or education. But nevertheless, even as parents, and while those of us who are staying in urban India, bigger cities, condominiums with lots of facilities, we can give it to our children. But those who are not, and they don't have those facilities around them, or they're not staying in clustered residential colonies where there is a lot of classes available within indoors, they should look out for opportunities to put their children in some form of sport training. It primarily because it enhances the 5 skills that I spoke, or 5, not skills, rather attributes. It enhances them in a child, and it teaches the child the value of training and putting in efforts. Because today children are often persuaded, or they are often misguided by this feeling of getting instant gratification, right? I do this, I get this. I do this, I get this. But when you are training to be a good sportsman, it is not important that every time you do this and you get this, but you learn that when you're doing something consistently over a period of time, eventually you will get it, and nobody can remove you from that pedestal because you have put in years of hard work to get there. So I think this whole thing about instant gratification is not the ultimate road to success. This myth can be busted if our children are given a holistic education which includes any kind of physical activity and sports where they are winners as well as losers, and they understand how to accept loss. It's very important to accept loss in one's life. So with this, I think I'll wrap up the talk for today. But primarily the message that I wanted to give is that it is that in my experience, there are 5 things that training in a sport has taught me: discipline, teamwork, time management, anger and emotions management, and finally survival. And the last note is, which I wanted to reiterate, is the fact that like we all like to win, and it is good to win, we should also lose, not because we want to get into a negativity that we have lost, because when we start valuing our losses, we will work that much more to get to our wins, and we will keep them with the right attitude. I think that is what it teaches us. With this, I wrap up the session for today. Let me know what your thoughts are. I would love to have a discussion on this. And finally, before I sign off, I just want to remind you that I go live every night, 9 p.m. on my channel, Born to Win with Priyanka Bhatnagar. You all take care. And okay, before I log off for today, sports or any physical activity also enhances one's immunity, right? So please, please, please stick to your schedule. Have one form of physical activity for at least 5 days a week, and be immune, stay safe. I wouldn't say stay indoors all the time. Do what you have to do, but stay safe. And with that, have a good night. See ya.